No, Joel Lewicki, he's killing it tonight. I friggin' loved it.
Joel is killing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did good. All right, guys, we are live, but I'm going to get set in here with this while people are coming in.
Can we give them the deer in the headlights look?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Brother Thomas has always got the...
That's right.
All right, folks.
Some maracas going on.
Hey, everybody. Sean Dotson here with the Flip Side, and this is the After Hours Party. Welcome. Again, this is, send the kids back into the other room. This is a non-PC, anything goes. We don't even have moderators here, folks. We are just here to have a good time.
We can't afford moderators.
We can't afford them. If you would like to volunteer your time to be a moderator,
the per diem. A mockerator.
A mockerator, exactly. Again, everybody, I'm here at the Three Rivers Brew Distillery in the lovely town of Farmington, New Mexico, and tonight I am drinking. Hey, folks, how are you guys doing? I am drinking an Arroyo Amber from Three Rivers Brewery, and it's very good. So, cheers to all of you. What are you drinking tonight, David?
Well, I've got a little Heine down here.
You got a little Heine? That's not what your wife said.
Well, I know. Look.
Hey, just a real quick disclaimer to all you FinTuber watchers out there. I was speaking to Toby today, and I told him, reminding him that next Wednesday is the 4th of July, and we both kind of agreed that we are not going to do a show next week because it is the 4th of July, so that all of us can spend time with our families, eat hot dogs, apple pie, and burn our fingers with some fireworks. So enjoy it. Be safe on your 4th of July, but there probably will not be a live show next week. Colin and I did talk about maybe doing a live show Thursday. If we do decide to do that, we'll put out a notification or something to do some kind of live show, Thursday. Tuesday, I don't want to step on Finn Treasure Hunter, Jason Dent's show. So we may do something Thursday, in light of that. And hopefully we won't be burnt up and scarred because of playing with fireworks. Anyways, folks, so I thought it was a great show tonight, about I'm only had 2 beers tonight, but I'm doing all right.
The disturbance in the force.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
We are not the droids you're looking for. So I thought it was a great show. I thought they did a good job. They covered a lot of great topics. And did you guys have anything you want to talk about that real quick before I get into? Well,
Cal Lazars, he's asking for his invite, but if our 4th person doesn't show, then we'll.
Well, I owe that to, if Joel doesn't show up like we invited him. I've got another one first. It's ahead of. Mike, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but I already promised somebody else.
Well, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I love Mike Cowling. I mean, I've known him for years.
Mike's a great guy. I'd love to have him in, but
we're both in Vegas.
Somebody else. Yeah,
we're both in Vegas.
Why don't he just show up to your house? He'll come out of that little closet behind you. Yes, Mike, awesome. We said it. We're expecting you to come out of the closet.
That'd be weird. Yeah, Mike, he said you're coming out of the closet. That's weird, bro.
All right. Well, something tonight that they talked about was obviously the gut feeling in that statement that came out of this year's 6 questions. We might have to kick the call out of here. He just froze up on us.
The call.
There he is. Look at him.
Reload.
We're gonna get the other guy from Vegas.
There he is. All right.
We almost booted you. 2 more seconds and you were gone.
That's right.
But they talked about the gut feeling, but I know we were talking about it on a couple of the forums, and I can't remember who it was, but they had also mentioned, Forrest once before had said something that was very similar to the gut feeling back in 2014, and it was from the 6 questions, and I want to read that really quick, and I can't remember who brought this up and mentioned that, and if it's you and you're watching this tonight, please put something in the comments later so I can definitely give you a hat tip. But
Sean,
yes, sir.
Looks like Joel's here.
Okay, great. Hold on, guys. Joel, we're getting you in. There he is.
Yay!
Now I got to unmute you. Say hi, Joel.
What's up?
What's up? Can you turn your volume up a little bit?
I can try, sure.
Oh, that's a little better. That's a little better there.
How's that?
Yeah. Speak from the gut.
Yeah, hello.
Joel, you were great tonight. You had some great little one-liners and stuff. So we were like, man, we got to get Joel in here. Joel's awesome, man. And the beard's coming in good. Looks great on you.
Thank you. That was just for you.
It did. Thank you very much. I think I'm going to do just the mustache next time because somebody said I look like Burt Reynolds. So I don't know. Maybe I need to do just the stash.
Burt Reynolds?
I don't know.
I'm not going there.
I'm not going there.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, hey, Joel.
And David, I have no idea who you are, but good evening.
I'm never mind. I am Sean's search partner. I've been Sean's search partner for 2 years. Where in the hell were you last week, Joel?
Search partner. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but I was busy last week.
That's good. We should be more busy than this.
I know, right? Exactly.
So are you drinking anything tonight, Joel? Do you drink or do you have a beer or you?
I'm out right now. I'm down to melted ice cubes.
Oh, that's right. You had the Montana Mule Shoe. That's right. Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait for you. If you want to go get something, we can talk crap about you while you're gone.
I might go grab something. I might have to help with bedtimes here, though, with the 3 kids.
Yeah, dude, don't.
No, family's priority, no sweat. If you need to cut out,
the call will kick me out of the room here.
Bring them in here, and David down here will read some bedtime stories for them.
Yeah, some lullabies.
But I'm going to get them on the 'twas the night before Christmas. Then tomorrow when they get up, they're expecting a tree, presents.
Where's my presents, Daddy?
That's right. Well, you see, Santa Claus is dead. Now, we warned everybody to put the
Santa
kids
Claus
to bed.
is dead. And
Santa Claus is dead?
Church is over.
Oh, that's it. I'm out of here. There's no treasure. Santa Claus is dead.
He found
cats and dogs.
That's right. Santa Claus is dead, so Fenn canceled the search.
We told you, folks, put the kids to bed. We're just giving all the secrets away.
That's exactly right.
So what I was saying really quick is that this person had brought up the fact that, Forrest Fenn had once before made a statement that was similar to his gut feeling in 2000 and the 6 questions from 2014 with Mysterious Writings. And I'll read exactly what was said. He said, "It is interesting to know that a great number of people are out there searching. Many are giving serious thought to the clues in my poem, but only a few are in tight focus with the word that is key. The treasure may be discovered sooner than I anticipated." And I would believe back in 2014, there wasn't as many searchers, involved as there is today, 4 years later. But I'm sure that statement, made in 2014 had a complete ripple effect through the search community of people going, whoa, there's a few people that are in tight focus with a key word, and that the treasure may be found sooner than anticipated. And to me, that same thought process has proliferated for 4 years now. But do we believe that it was a few searchers that were in tight focus, or was it just a few of the clues were in tight focus with the word that is key? And that's something that I brought up not too long ago, and what was it what was it out of that made Forrest Fenn feel that the treasure may be found sooner than possible? Was it that a few searchers were in tight focus with the word that is key, or was it that many of those searchers were giving serious thought to just the clues in the poem? So it's something to think about too, that this statement, similar to his gut feeling, has been made 4 years ago, but there wasn't maybe as many searchers as we have now. So this gut feeling statement, yes, while I agree with what Toby and Joel and everybody else on the panel said tonight, that it has created kind of a disturbance in the force and maybe brought down hope in some people. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
So before the show started, actually, I was mentioning to the people on the panel that it's kind of like when you go on your first boots on the ground. That's kind of how I interpreted that statement that Fenn made about the gut feeling. Before you go, it's nothing but hope that you are going to get out there, you're going to find that thing, and then you get out there and you don't, and it's a totally different reality. Yeah, it's a huge reality check.
Yeah, you expect to walk out there and you're going to walk right to it.
Yeah.
Like he says in this new interview, the person's going to go right to it. You expect to walk right there and you're like, in like 5 minutes, you feel like your hope is lost. You feel like, oh my God, I'm really not going to find this, or I'm going to have to turn over every single bush out there or rock out there. Or log or whatever out there. It's crazy. So yeah, that feeling can diminish very quickly.
Yeah, and everybody thinks they're right. That's the other harsh reality, you know. If three of us, let's just say we have three different solves here, so at least two of us are absolutely wrong. We're not even close to the same. You know, I mean, there's not even hardly a compromise. Joel and I are similar, but and then mathematically, all right, you take 100 searchers and 99 are absolutely wrong because every single one is different. Yep. And you take 1,000, now you've got 999 who are absolutely certainly wrong. And it just goes up from there. Nobody has the same solve, so everyone is wrong essentially. So anyone that speaks as though they have the correct solve, I mean, they're delusional. Even if you're the 1 out of 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 that has it right, you can't have that attitude. So when we all go to our area, it's 999% certain that we're in the wrong area anyway. I mean, we have to try. It might be better than getting struck by lightning or winning the lottery. It's probably a higher chance of finding this treasure than that, but it's still a very low possibility.
The difference, Sean, between what he said in 2014 and the gut feeling is whether or not it fueled hope. Because the idea of being in tight focus with a word that is key, that gives me something actionable that I can then go off of and maybe get closer. Him having a gut feeling it might be found this summer, how does that fuel my hope that I'm going to be able to do something to be that one person that, it's Highlander, right? There can be only one.
That's
and
a great
how does
point,
that
Joe.
statement fuel that? And that's what I think is kind of like
I think that's a great point. And let me try and reignite some hope in people then. And I've said this before. I think that when, a gut feeling is not based on fact. A gut feeling is based on intuition or instinct. Now, yes, we are talking about the gut feeling, the instinct and intuition of the man who architected this thing and the man that has all of the information, including all our emails and everything. I mean, the guy is the hub of all this information. So we are talking about his gut feeling. But, that gut feeling can be based on, many searchers homing in on the correct general area. And like he has said, rocking chair ideas can lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence is needed to complete the solve. So even though many people are focusing or potentially focusing in on the correct area, they still got to get there. And once they get there, they still have to have then the correct interpretation of the clues that's then going to get them from that point to the end point and where the treasure is. So I'm trying to re-inject some hope in people that, nobody's given Forrest Fenn a correct solve, in my opinion. I think that the correct solve has to be done on boots on the ground. You've got to be there in the right area and still understand the clues. I think he said in this most recent interview, and I'm going to read this right off of here, is that somebody could find it this afternoon, he says. It could be 1,000 years. Who knows? But I'll tell you this, the person that finds it is going to go to it. Now, a lot of people will think that means, they're going to have all 9 clues solved and they're going to go directly to it. I personally don't believe that. And he goes on to say they're not going to find it on spring break or Sunday afternoon picnic. So he's basically saying, guys, this is not a picnic. You're not going to go out there on a spring break vacation and find this thing. You're going to have to take some time to interpret all the clues and figure this thing out. A physical presence is needed to complete the solve. So you've got to be there, in the right location in order to, solve this thing. Sure, he said before that, in theory, yeah, it's likely somebody could solve on 9 clues, but not likely in practice. And in practice, to me, means trial and error, going out there and figuring things out and trying things that work or not. So I'm trying to interject some hope into people. And I personally think that, this treasure may not be found this summer. I'd like to think that, it would be, and then that we all can maybe get some really great, nice sleep and move on to something else. But I think that, the gut feeling is just based on intuition and instinct, that it's possible it could be found, but that's no guarantee, folks, at all.
Yeah, but Sean, you don't think that the correct solve has been sent to Fenn? I mean, we're talking down to the 200-foot level.
I don't.
Not the last 200 feet.
I think many people may be homing in on the correct general area, and whether you want to consider that a region, a state, or even a specific location.
I think a 5-mile radius,
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? But I don't think anyone has been able to give him the correct solve. I think that the correct solve, again, like he says, is a solve that gets you within several steps of the treasure. And if you interpret those several steps to be within 12 feet, then it's highly unlikely that anybody's not going to find it.
Well, even 200 feet is fine. I mean, geez, dude, I would love to know anybody. I mean, I would love to know anything tangible here. I mean, me and Joel agree on a couple of things.
Yep.
You and Sean, I don't even think we agree on one thing about this stuff, do we?
We agree on the fact that neither you or I have the treasure chest. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's not like we have to agree, but how do we?
I thought you both had a 500-foot salamander. No, am I wrong about that?
It's 800 feet. Come on now.
Oh, sorry.
Mine's 801 feet.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, what's wrong with the salamander? I mean, the frog is the most prominent item in the chest. It's very similar to the salamander. But anyway, that's my solve. Who cares?
Hey, Sean, can I jump in a minute?
Yeah.
Hey, want to say hi to some of the folks in the room and maybe grab some of these questions?
Yep. Did you see some questions, or are you seeing
I
them?
saw some questions. They're rolling by. People are talking. They're partying. It's crazy. They're having a great time over there.
We don't even. Again, we don't know what we're doing, folks. We're just having fun.
Oh, come on now.
We brought the guy in with the tie. He's supposed to be in charge. He's supposed to be the smart guy. Right?
See, on my screen, you're pointing at DeCal.
I'm pointing right down here at Joel.
See, Joel is right there for me.
Joel.
Sean, you're over there. DeCal is over there.
You're right above me, David.
But, there you go.
Well, let me say hi to some people, and unfortunately, it skipped all the way to 8:16. So some of you might have said hi before then. But I see Jeremy P is in here. Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing, brother? I did see your response over there on Thor. I'll respond to you. Fenn Treasure Hunter, how you doing? Adventure Sledneck 23 Monarcha. That's DeCal's best friend. H Purd, how you doing? William Ortiz, good to see you in there. Love Star, I wonder if that's Lucky Love. Jason Eunice, how you doing, Jason? Belva Jenkins, how you doing, Belva? Chris Thor, hey, K-Pro. Totally Not Mitzi. Iron Will, how you doing, Iron? Good to see you in there. GL Cannon, Rob G, Why Must I Go? Troy, how you doing? Cal Lazars, hey, Mike, what's going on?
He
Rob
left.
G, JT, Redneck Express, hey, Red X, how are you? Minotaur Marino. Hey, Minotaur, I don't know if you noticed, but I did respond to your question on our last week's, live after hours party. I did go back and watch that guy, Matt Ann Arbor, and responded to you in the comments from last week. So go check that out if you haven't already. Mama Llama. Hey, Mama. Dale Richards. How you doing, Dale? DeCall Thomas. Oh, wait, never mind. He's right there. Who am I missing here? I think I'm getting everyone.
At one time.
Well, at one point you had like 73 people in there. I didn't hear you say hi to 73 folks.
No, I'm trying to catch up on them.
Well,
have you guys seen any questions? Again,
there were a lot of questions.
Okay, let's go back here.
Mostly about, are you wearing a kilt tonight, Sean?
Well, you guys talk amongst yourself until I find something here.
All right, fine.
Do I got to bring Toby in here to organize this thing?
I got the questions highlighted. Do you want
my gold?
Yes, go for it. Go, DeCall. You got it.
Iron Will, I said hello to 7 people in AGK stream and no response. So F that bloated toady Eunice. Oh my gosh, now we're stepping up. Stealthy banning my chat.
Again, we are totally non-PC.
That's right.
If you're watching this.
Iron, dude, I didn't even know what I was getting into when I started reading your question. But
Iron Will, did you think that they moderated you? Did they cut you out of there? What happened?
Dude, tell us what you think about Toby.
Tell us what you think about us, Iron. Whatever. We don't care. He's got thick skin. This is a thick skin guy right here.
Oh, yeah, you could hit me with a 2x4.
Bring it on.
All right, there's tomorrow, the 29th, is the late.
Will, I see that you said they did. I'm sorry about that, brother.
Tomorrow is not the 29th. Well, no, not even by my time zone.
Yeah, Iron, don't we have 2 more days or 1 more day until you said it's supposed to be found?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. The 29th
I thought he said 28th. Is it 28th?
I thought he said July.
The end is nigh.
Now, seriously, Iron, I'm not criticizing you, but
no, we're not.
You can't afford to go, Iron? I mean, isn't that what kind of the message I got out of that? And then you've published or you've shown Fenn the right answer and you're proud that you've got the right answer? Is that the gist of your chat over there on the blogs? Anyway, dude, I don't know. If you get tired of it, Iron, just publish or solve and tell anybody to go get it, Please go get it.
Come on, David. Iron, you need to GoFundMe.
Yeah,
David, was that a hint? The Toledo, Ohio, the 300 miles from
That's it, Toledo. I used to live in Toledo. I'm like, there ain't shit 300 miles from Toledo. Been there.
I see a question here or a comment, I should say, from Minotaur Marino. Have you seen anything else to call before we hit that one?
3 of them are by Iron Will, so let me see.
Okay. I do see one.
I got one.
You won't even read Iron's questions? Come on, man.
No, they're all the same about the 28th of June, 29th. Okay, here's one by Adventurer. Have you considered that you can't complete it from the comforts of your home just because the blaze can't be determined from home?
Well, let me answer that real quick.
I was going to say, we can talk about that.
No, there was, absolutely. Adventure, good question. And something that came out of this recent interview or article, and I don't know if you've read it yet, this one that came from Daily Mail, but there was one thing in there that really stood out to me, and I did share this with David, and we talked about it. He did say, and I'm going to read this verbatim so I don't mess it up. He said, be prepared. Take water, take some food, take a GPS. I'm not sure a map and a compass would help you much, but people take those things. Now, that really kind of stood out to me because he's always talked about, you need the poem, you need the map, you need the book type thing. He's always said that he's always gone back to the map, that you need a map. And now he turns around and tells us, I'm not sure a map and a compass will help you much when you're going boots on the ground as far as being prepared. So I thought that was really interesting. So it kind of ties in potentially to your Blaze remark that, and what did he say to call again?
Well, the rest of the quote, I don't know what you're talking about. And if you're not used to the tall trees and the forest, check in with the national park. Maybe he's hinting that there's tall trees nearby. Maybe it's confirmation bias. Maybe it's nonsense. Who knows?
But I find it very interesting. Sorry, Joel.
About how to navigate a map.
Yeah, I agree. But I find it interesting that he tells us that when we go, we're supposed to take water, supposed to take food, take a GPS, but you don't really need a map if you don't want it. I mean, he didn't say that verbatim, but he said, I don't know how a map or a compass will help you out. Is he telling us that if you already know the correct location and you're going to there, you're not going to need a map? Does that mean that, the Blaze is not on a map or the Blaze is not a named geographical location or something like that? It's kind of interesting. It's something that I haven't seen anybody talk about yet, even though, this article just came out. But that's one thing that really stood out to me. He constantly tells us that, we need a map, but then, when we go out there, we don't need a map and a compass.
Or as my wife just said off screen, that the reason you don't need it is because all of the hints are in one location and you're not really going anywhere else.
Well, okay, Joel, here's what we need to do. Joel, you move out of that chair. Put your wife in here because she's pretty smart. Bring her in here. Let's talk to her.
Seriously? Exactly.
Yeah, she's smart. Absolutely. I'm glad that your wife is involved. That's awesome. She's pretty.
Does she play? Is she just tolerating you, Joel?
She's the brains. I'm just the pretty face to call.
Wow.
Oh, did she hear you say that? Did she? But bring her over here. That's not.
That's why he's already on the couch. He knows where he's sleeping.
That's where you're sleeping tonight, buddy. Bedtime stories are on the couch.
Because I drank all of the alcohol.
Twas the night before Christmas and all through the house. Never mind.
Twas the night before Joel's hanging.
We'll miss you,
really
Joel.
Nice knowing you guys.
We'll miss you, Joel. Yeah.
We got you for the last interview.
Oh, you tell your wife she's right. She's pretty smart.
She can hear you.
Yeah. Great comment.
Brave comment.
Now we got to be quiet. She can hear us.
Yeah.
Good.
Did she okay you coming in here? Did she know what this is about?
No, she's shooting daggers at me right now.
I heard something. I heard yelling at
It's like nails in my eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
And trust me, you don't want to get on her bad side.
Dude, Joel, were you joking when you say you play accordion and you juggle and you guitar play? That's not serious?
Break out the accordion.
Huh?
I wish I was joking.
You will. Yeah. Joel, okay, so next
You were really popular in high school, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't you wear a bow tie? I got you scheduled for an Orville Redenbacher commercial.
Perfect.
You do your accordion, pop some popcorn.
Tuesdays are bow tie Tuesdays.
That's awesome.
I wear bow tie
Tuesdays. I like that. Yeah. Joel, by the way, next week when AGK and Flipside is off the air for the live chat, you are scheduled for a 2-hour accordion play.
Great. Yeah, it'll be broadcast on local cable television too, just to get the full coverage.
That's channel 16.
It's not an easy instrument. You pick one up and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this box of sound? It sounds horrible. And then
and that's when it's being played correctly.
Huh?
Hey, I'm gonna go to a statement that Minotaur Marino said.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna go to a commercial. I'm like,
we got a commercial break.
Now a word from our sponsor.
Now a word from our sponsor. Minotaur Marino said, then how does a finder go with confidence? Nothing to beat a chance. Now I'm trying to go back. We've been talking about other things since then, but I think he was. I kind of remember what he was talking about now. How does one go with confidence if there's no certainty, if there's no confirmation?
How do you go with confidence if you're not even sure you got the right warm waters halt until you find the treasure chest? I mean, people have been asking that question for a long time.
What do you have right? What are you absolutely sure you have right?
This is a good path right here.
Me personally?
Yeah. What do you have that is like absolutely correct in your solve?
The blaze.
I didn't even know you had the blaze.
Oh. If you've got the blaze correct, are you willing to share or no?
Well, here's the problem. Fenn said there's 1 billion blazes out there.
Yes, he did.
So knowing the blaze,
he's not willing to share.
I'm not willing to share what I think it is. But
what are you wearing?
What are you wearing?
No wife, not you, Joel.
We just completely derailed.
Hey, wow. This from the Mormon. Look out, he's looking for number dos.
Yeah, he's not even the one drinking.
Numero dos.
He doesn't speak Spanish to call off limits.
Okay. No, I love my wife.
Yeah, boxers or briefs, Joel.
There's 1 billion blazes out there, but if you don't have the right warm waters halt and follow his directions, you're not going to get to the right place.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question, Joel.
Well, it's not a floating hat on a lake. I'll tell you that. That's all.
Yeah, dude, what's wrong with the floating hat? I mean,
hey, David, you and I can get in our own.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I don't know.
But I still don't have confirmation.
I'm getting naked.
All I got is this strawberry milkshake comment from Fenn. I don't have confirmation. I got nothing.
But to be honest, none. I don't know as though I have any of the clues figured out.
Well, I mean, really I know nobody does. Of course nobody does, but I'm just wondering what in the hell can we get even a sliver of anything? Can we, I mean, the only one that I think we can nail as something tangible is the Too Far to Walk preface, but it still could be symbolic. It could be anything. It doesn't have
to. He says that's a metaphor for his whole life. How is that something that nails down a particular? How are you going to put that on a map? Unless it's actually a specific measure of distance that he references in the preface, or if he's actually talking about that stretch of the Madison. Other than that, it's a Fennism.
So can I ask you a question, Joel?
It's a riddle wrapped in an enigma.
Joel, can I ask you a question real quick? you said that you have the blaze figured out. In order, in my opinion, to have the blaze figured out, you must be, and at least my interpretation of what the blaze is that you must have at least, every clue up to that, up to the third stanza figured out, and that you have now been wise and you believe that you have found the blaze. Do you believe that you, like you said, there's a bazillion blazes out there. Do you believe that you have identified what the blaze could be and not necessarily what the blaze is in your specific area, if that makes sense to you?
Well, okay. I'll say this. I think I've identified what it could be. I've not identified what it could be in the context of a particular solve that has worked, because it wasn't where I looked. Right. So obviously I didn't have the right one.
Right. So you have a good interpretation of what you believe the blaze could be or possibly should be.
Yes, something that I've never heard anyone else really say what it was.
I agree with that. I can understand that. Cool.
I don't think a unique blaze is essential. I don't think that's necessarily the right answer.
Well, yeah. I mean, he said there's a bazillion blazes out there, so it can't be something that's unique, like a very, let's just throw it out there, a very specific petroglyph, like a FF or like a flying dodo bird or whatever. I mean, it should be something that there's a bazillion of them out there, not one single, thing that we should be able to find out there in all of the Rocky Mountains. But yeah, I like your, Joel. I see where you're going, and I like it, and I agree with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, let me go back to a moment ago when it was asked, what do you have for sure in your solve? And that's one thing for those people in the room and for everybody here in the panel. There are two things that I can look at in our solve, and I can say, this tells me that our solve is correct, and this other thing tells me that our solve is correct, because we've completely 100% answered those questions without a doubt.
Exactly what are those things?
Well, for $2 million plus, I will tell you those things.
All right,
and I'm sure that your wife will agree to that. But there are two things that I can look at in our solve, and I can say, these are rock solid to the solve, and these are the things that give me the confidence in our solve. And for other searchers and people in the room, and again in the panel, if you can look at your solution and there are 1, 2, 3, whatever things in there that you can say are 100% answering those questions, as I have gone alone in there, or your effort will be worth the cold, or braving in the wood, or whatever it may be. And by the way, ours are none of those. If you can 100% answer those questions, then those things can give you confidence to proceed with your solution. The other things can be kind of sketchy. We were talking about the map, and let's talk about, some of the hints in the book. There's a shout out to Fenn. Some of the hints in the book, but you're not going to recognize the hints in the book.
I don't think Fenn is watching this, David.
Oh, if you're not,
break it to you.
If you're not,
I'll call you later. It's fine.
Right.
Just wait. I'll call you in a few minutes. Just relax.
If you're not, what in the hell was I talking about? Thanks, Joel. The hints in the book that are sprinkled in there, you're not going to recognize those.
You were kissing up to Fenn.
That's ground in your spot. Well, I can't even say that. All right, your wife's sitting over yonder. I can't do it. All right, so shit. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. There's so many people with this spectacular list of answers to the poem, and every single one has a different list. Joel's list ain't so bad. Sean and David's list isn't so bad. I mean, I think my solve is the best in the game, but magically everyone disagrees with me. It's like, what the hell?
Magically everybody thinks their solve is the best in the game. I mean, you can't. It's just our own.
They don't have an 800-foot salamander. They don't have a floating hat. They don't have an island lake. They don't have half the crap I've got.
But all we need is a treasure. We don't need an 800-foot salamander.
I know, but why
did I miss the part in the book where it talked about the 800-foot salamander? I read about the part where the man was, milking on the things and shooting cats in the face. And,
that's Fenn's ego, that giant phallus,
You know,
I'm not going to do it.
I was having a conversation on the forums with Presby over on Harry's site. And, you know, he asked me as a poem purist, you know, what kind of confirmations do I get when I'm on boots on the ground? And I told him, no, I don't think that there, you know, my personal belief is there are no confirmations, you know, on boots on the ground, armchair or otherwise, that really, in my opinion, that really the only major confirmation or the ultimate confirmation is finding the treasure. And, you know, there was a little back and forth with Anagram and I over on Thor's site where, Anagram makes a good point where he says that, yeah, when your boots on the ground, there's a lot of things that you can find that are confirmations. And while I somewhat agree with what Anagram is saying, I don't think that while we're on boots on the ground, that those things can be confirmations. I think that they can be coincidences. They can be things that give you a little bit more confidence, again, going with what Joel's saying. But I don't think any amount of coincidences and things that you find on boots on the ground will be confirmations of you finding the treasure. They may give you more confidence, but I don't think that they're confirmations, Anagram. It's a good conversation. And I know we kind of went back and forth on, back and forth with each other on it, but I don't think that anything boots on the ground is a confirmation. It can give you confidence, but being boots on the ground,
I sure hope it does.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that point that you've got to be boots on the ground to complete the solve. But as far as confirmations, the only solid confirmation is us finding that treasure, in my opinion.
One thing I've been thinking about recently is Forrest's statement that after the first clue, they get progressively easier.
It's a good thing to think about, Joel.
And I don't know what he means by that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it means that once you're on the ground, it'll make a lot more sense if you're in the right starting point, and it'll get easier in that sense.
Right.
Joel, I absolutely agree with what you just said. Once you're on the ground, it will make more sense.
When you would think you would have like the formula, the algorithm now, if you've got anything figured out, then the second clue should follow a similar formula, similar pattern, similar progress. Mine is the flow of water downhill. That's, very simple concept. That's what makes it easier every step of the way in my solve. But yeah, I mean, to each his own. But I don't think Fenn is making this up. It's got to be easier. I think that's a real.
But to what Joel,
maybe as the author, he doesn't know whether it would be easier for someone that doesn't know what he knows. He could be wrong on that.
Well, it's no different than that scrapbook where he's looking at the crap in his shower and he's making images out of those shower, and he looks at those things and he sees them automatically. He sees them. His imagination is like, oh yeah, I see this, I see that. And if we were to walk in his shower, we're like, what the fuck are you talking about, Fenn? I mean, I don't see none of that. But to him, he obviously sees it. Now, he's the architect of this poem, and he sees it like, oh, my God, guys, how are you missing it? This is where Warm Waters hold. It's right there, folks. It's right there. And we're like, we don't see it. We don't see it, and for him, it's very easy. He understands it because he's an architect. He's the one that can see those images in the shower. But for us, our imagination is not in the same tune as him, or we didn't write that poem. We cannot attune to it like he does.
Channel your best inner Bill Gorman. Bill, if you're in the room, there's your shout out, brother.
Bill's around, brother. He's here.
I
see you in there too, Gay Dilkin. How's it going?
That's one of the earliest things that I told Sean when he and I first started collaborating on this was the fact that, Fenn knows what he's talking about. He understands what his words mean, and we don't get it. We don't understand what he's talking about. So we have to try and figure it out. So for us, Fenn may say, oh, well, it gets easier. Well, for him, it gets easier, because he's used to the landscape. He's used to the things that he's talking about. When the man talks about, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down. Well, he understands what wise means. He understands what the blaze is, and he understands what looking quickly down means. Are you looking down a river, down south, straight down? Are you looking down altitude?
David, it's so simple. I can't believe I have to explain it to you. I mean, if you figure out that first one, you're already more than halfway there.
Burn. Well, let me bring this up really quick. He has said, and Joel, like you said, once you figure out the first clue, it gets progressively easier. But if the first clue is begin at where warm waters halt, and we can figure out where warm waters halt, then yeah, the clues get progressively easier if you believe that is just the first clue. But what I find amongst all the forums and all the videos, and Shannon's done a great video on warm waters halt within this last week, and we haven't had a chance to talk about that. But the thing that I find that is common throughout all of this is everybody is trying to figure out what warm waters halt is. They're trying to say it's hot springs, it's this, it's that, it's that. We're all trying to figure out what warm waters halt is, but that is not what he is telling us. He's telling us to figure out where warm waters halt. Never has Forrest Fenn ever told us you've got to figure out what warm waters halt is. He's constantly told us you've got to figure out where warm waters halt. You've got to figure out the starting point. So yes, if you can figure out where warm waters halt, not what warm waters halt is, because if you figure out what warm waters halt is, there's many of them, and nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe. So quit trying to figure out what they are, figure out where they are. And once you figure out where they are, then what they are may become more apparent to you.
Ben just marked it on a map. Didn't you see that? That was yesterday. He marked it. So we know where warm waters halt, at least 2 more of them.
Right. In Idaho.
Sorry, Joel. What were you going to say, Joel?
Well, I mean, that idea of what warm waters halt as opposed to where they are. Mm-hmm. His one room cabin in paradise, right? No heat,
no window, plumbing, no curtains.
No, he had curtains, but no heat, no plumbing, and no running water. Warm waters halt.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Interesting. I like it.
Right?
I mean, there's a dozen good ones.
Oh, sure. I mean,
there's a dozen bad ones.
As creative as you can be, there's as many things out there.
Yeah, man.
Let me tell you this. What happens to waters just before they go down into a canyon?
No!
Something to think about.
I think you have to start with what Fenn is saying. Look at the cover of Too Far to Walk. He says that's Madison Junction. I know everybody hates that, but come on. Yeah, and coincidentally, my solve is on the cover. My solve is literally 1,000 yards from that horseback picture. But I think the cover of Too Far to Walk, the other book, is a worthy starting point, and it sort of negates what you're saying, Sean, that what warm waters halt or where warm waters halt isn't as important if you're just taking Fenn at his word. What is Fenn promoting? Fenn's promoting Madison Junction, okay? It's on the friggin' cover. So we start there. Go ahead and disprove it.
Isn't that funny? We can actually argue the words of the poem. Begin it where, not what, warm waters halt. But
why
everybody
everyone
will say,
stop at halt? Begin it where warm waters halt and take it into canyon down.
Yeah, that's exactly. And thank you for bringing that up because we shouldn't.
I'm going to answer. I saw a question in here from Love Stars, and Love Stars
God.
said, "I met a true poem purist. Never read anything outside of the poem. How can you say reading it at all didn't change you?" Love, I'm sorry, I really don't understand your question.
That's pretty deep, man. Thank you.
I didn't start out as a poem purist. I didn't. I evolved into one based on, me, starting out like everybody else, reading the book, making some what I thought were some pretty naive assumptions about words and phrases in the poem, and then going out there and building a whole complete solve about everything outside of the poem, and finding millions of coincidences. So I didn't start out as a poem purist. So while I am a poem purist now, and I cannot remove all those things I've learned, historical things, things in the book and everything else, I can't remove those things out of my head. They're still in there, but I can try and mitigate those things as much as possible by building my foundation of my solve based upon the poem only. Now, those things outside of it, like the Q&As from Forrest, the scrapbooks or whatever else. I can use those things as kind of a ballast or a check and balance, like in a checkbook or something, is things that, okay, if is my solve above 5,000 feet? Is it below 10,200 feet? Is it in the Rocky Mountains, north of Santa Fe? All those things are checks and balances, but they definitely do not form the foundation of David and I solve. They are just, again, those things that check and balance it. And I know I've said that a bunch of times, but yeah, I mean, I consider myself a poem purist, but that doesn't mean that those things are not still floating around in my brain and I can't get them out of there.
I consider myself a confirmation bias purist. I only look for things that advance my already predetermined idea of where it is. So everything else I discount.
Yep. And there's a lot
and this
of
will be the guy that finds it.
And there's a lot of us that are like that. I mean, there's a lot of folks, Brother Thomas and Fenn Treasure Hunter and Illinois Ghost, that can't come off of their spot, and that's always been one of my questions is, if you can't come off of your spot, and Sean and I are in the same place, if you can't come off of your spot, what holds you there? And what holds me there is trying to figure out how Fenn hid this damn thing. Okay. One of the things that Fenn has said, and I really hope I'm
exactly what the blaze was, huh?
Yeah. But what Fenn, it doesn't matter. We've got 8 years of camouflage, and when Fenn said, when he was talking about if the treasure was buried, he says, what if some weeds blew in there? Which I think is very telling. Okay, so what if some weeds blew in there? But you've had 8 years of time to change what that location looked like when Fenn left the treasure there. Okay, 8 years is a long time. I've probably got shit in my backyard that hasn't been touched in 8 years. You can't find it anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that part of the yard doesn't matter. But 8 years, depending on the location, means a lot.
But you make a very good point, David. I mean, if it was buried, it wouldn't matter if some weeds blew in there. It's still buried, right?
Well, okay. I'll stop buried there. But again, so if some weeds blew in there, if some seeds blew in there, if some grass grew over that, if it's no more than a foot high when he first put it there, what does it look like now?
Weeds, grass, and seeds. David, do you by any chance only look for the treasure on April 20th?
What's
that
April 20th?
That was big.
He doesn't get it.
I only let Sean look in there on April 20th. But no, it's I always hated getting a lot of seeds in my weed. But anyway, what I'm saying is that the area has really changed since Fenn put it out there. He hasn't been back. He doesn't know what it looks like. Okay. So he can only sort of speculate on what may have happened to that location. When we think about it being in a pile of rocks, and again, as I think Fenn Treasure Hunter and I got into one time, was we think about a pile of rocks as being maybe 3 foot high, 4 foot high. But if the chest is on a solid rock with another rock on top of it, we're at how many inches above the ground? Maybe a foot, then with other rocks piled around it. Now, if weeds have blown in there and if things have begun to grow there, this thing is all but invisible to us.
Doesn't even look like a pile of rocks, just look like ground.
Yeah. Looks like grass.
Maybe.
I think Shannon, in her last appearance here on the after party, had said, they came across a pile of rocks with a bunch of grass growing out of it, and were absolutely amazed. And of course, they disassembled that pile of rocks. But 8 years, guys, that's amazing. It's a lot of time to have passed, and even Fenn himself doesn't know what it looks like.
And I've got to go, so I want to ask one quick question.
Sure.
And then I'll take my answer off the air. But do you think that anyone, and I'm referencing Shiloh, knows generally where he put it, if not specifically where it is, but maybe generally where it is?
Yeah,
I think Preston knows generally where it is.
What makes you think that? I mean, I've heard from K-Pro and others that the family is searching in Montana.
Well, I think
how much of his family? All of them? That's a generalized statement.
I think that statements like, if you have a searcher, best to leave them in the car, different things like that. I think that when he actually hit it, he may not have gone to that general location by himself, the way that I think a lot of people have been led to believe that he left his home in Santa Fe, drove by himself and hid the treasure, and no one knew anything about it. He said Peggy doesn't know to within, depending on which statement you're talking about, 18 months of when he hid the treasure chest.
Yeah.
Whether it's Preston or whether it's Shiloh or whether it's maybe someone else, do you think there's a possibility that they know generally where it is? And if Sam is looking for it and he is looking in Montana, should that tell us something?
Yeah, hard to say, man. I mean, we don't know anything, dude. I mean, Fenn's got a backbone. He doesn't break, I mean, there's been some sneaky crap like that Jason guy that made 6 treasure chests, made them himself. And then he must have spoofed Fenn with the fake placement of the chest, sent Fenn some pictures of it and said, I got the treasure, there's some sneaky stuff going on out there that, us nice guys would never think of.
Right.
And Fenn holds his back, straight through, like them idiots at this recent book signing. It's like, dude, relax. I know you just showed Fenn the treasure on your phone, but give the guy he's not going to answer you. You just got to bring the chest home.
Yeah.
No, I really think that, his closest friends like Douglas, and his family like Shiloh and Sam have a lot of respect for their grandfather and their best friend. And I don't think that they would want to do anything that would jeopardize the legacy or the fun that Fenn is having. So while, he says he might go out searching for it, obviously they haven't gotten any clues from Forrest either. Otherwise,
and I'm not saying that they have.
Yeah. I just don't think that they would, even if they did stumble upon it or find it, I would bet that they would probably walk away from it and just be like, cool, Gramps, and just walk away from it. Yeah, and I think that they have enough respect for their grandfather that they would never do that.
Yeah, and
I'd love to have Shiloh on this show. Shiloh, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the show and come over and
there you go.
All 2 questions about your grandfather. We're not going to ask you about the treasure. We're not going to talk to you about the thrill of the chase, but we'd love to get to know you a little better. And
it'd be interesting to just know what his perspective is on it. As an observer, that'd be interesting.
I'd like to know what kind of beer he drinks.
There you go. Maybe he's like his grandpa and he doesn't. Except for possible. A martini once a year to remember why he doesn't like it.
I don't think he's a martini guy.
There you go. Let him swipe Jackie's bottle. Bring it on and drink the whole damn thing.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Shiloh. I don't.
What do you? I mean, I'm shocked, Sean. I can't believe that. Like, basically, you're saying that the 200-foot guy doesn't really exist because he doesn't. No one sent Fenn the right solve yet.
Nope.
Well, he said that the people that were within 200 feet didn't know it.
He says. Does that make it so?
He said that those people arrived in that location as an aberration, and not knowing how close they were. Both the 500 people, many people have been with 500 feet. Some people have been within, or a few people have been within 200 feet.
Searchers.
But he doesn't believe that they have been closer. So of course they don't know the significance of where they are, and probably arriving there as an aberration, because if they knew that they were within 200 feet and had any confidence or even certainty, and we can debate about what certainty means, they would never have left that area. And he's been questioned on whether those people are still searching or still in the search, if they're getting closer, and he doesn't want to answer that question. And I respect and I understand why the guy doesn't do that. He doesn't want to give this thing away. We have to earn it. Go ahead, Joel. You out?
I'm out.
Joel, good. Say hi to the family. It was nice meeting y'all. Great to have you.
Good meeting you, brother.
Yeah,
see you next time.
I got to go wrap presents for my kids now. Thanks.
Wrap presents? What?
'Twas the night before Christmas.
Got it. Got it.
Not a creature was
Tell your wife thank you for hanging out with us, Joel. I know you're out, but please tell the wife that we appreciate her
by the chimney with
time
care
to hang out
in
with
hopes
us.
that the St. Nicholas soon
Be there.
and Ma and her kerchief and I and my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap.
Dude, you're hired.
Thank you.
Well, is there anything? One other thing I want to talk about before we begin to wrap this up, and I know we've still got over. Right now, I just looked. We got 73 people in the chat. We're still going strong. That's great. We greatly appreciate you guys coming in here. And
I appreciate everybody that shows up, man. Thank you all. You know, I was so glad that Sean brought me on this thing, and I really appreciate it. I wish I could keep up with everybody in the chat.
We're not doing a very good job keeping up with you guys.
Oh, no. We absolutely love this, man. I see you guys on Fenn Treasure Hunter and over to Gypsy Kiss, and it's like, you know, I just sincerely want to thank you all for coming and you know, giving us your time and your attention. It means a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of fun. You know, I've talked with Toby and I talked with DeCall and David about this as well, that a lot of times when I go back and I watch the chat, you guys are having a heck of a lot of fun just talking amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we're not part of that.
And that's great. You know, if we can give you an opportunity to just talk with your friends in the chat, go right ahead. Ignore us. We don't care. We're having fun talking to ourselves either. But, you know, if there is some questions that we've overlooked in here, I know I have overlooked a couple of them.
Because you're drinking, man.
I will try and go back and answer your questions and try and comment on them.
Don't even count on it, people. It never happens. You know, we'll go back and we'll read it and go like, oh, that was nice.
What was that guy thinking?
Mary Green's question, do you think all 9 clues in the poem can be found on a map?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
No, simple no.
8 out of 9. I honestly believe 8 out of 9, but it depends.
8 out of 9? What in the hell are those 8?
Well, Mary, I personally don't think every single clue in the poem is a geographical location. While all the clues might specifically talk about a singular geographical location, I don't think that every single clue talks about, you know, a singular geographical location. You know, and I'm a 9 clues, 9 sentences guy, but I think that all the directional clues personally, you know, are fully contained within stanzas 2, 3, and 4. It doesn't mean that the stanzas 1, 5, and 6 do not contain clues or information that can help you narrow it down. And I know what has been said, you know, a clue will direct you towards the treasure and a hint will only help you out with a clue. But I still believe that, you know, stanzas 1, 5, and 6 are clues, because each sentence, in my opinion, is a clue, that they are information that can help you with understanding of the poem in the larger picture, in the big picture, like Forrest Fenn says. So I don't see that every clue in the sense of being a geographical location. And none of that matters whether you think that the 9 clues are a sentence or all the 9 clues are contained within stanzas 2, 3, and 4 in your effort to find the treasure. If you can fully understand the poem and find the treasure, it won't matter. And when this thing is found, you know, nobody's going to care. Wow, the 9 clues were each sentence. They're not going to care. They're just going to want to know where it was, what was the correct solve, and who found it. That's all we're going to want to know. That's it. Who cares? And who cares if that person was a poem purist?
How we figured it out.
It won't matter. It won't matter at all. So we can argue and we can say devil horns poem purist, or we can say I'm a hint guy and every hint in the world helped us out. It's not going to matter. And I can't remember who said it on the forums, and they said it best. You know, whoever finds it can say they're a poem purist or can say that they found it with 10 bazillion hints in the book. It's not going to matter, and nobody's going to care. Where was it? What was the solve? And who found it? That's all we're going to want to know. In my opinion. Let me just, my opinion.
Well, I'm not out of things to say, but I mean, the 9 sentences, who cares? But I mean, everything's there in the poem. So everyone interprets it so different that, I mean, we don't have, think of any phrase in the poem. Is it like Canyon Down Park? Is it Warm Water Halt Trail? Is it Paddle Up Your Creek View? You know, what the hell do you call a reasonable answer to any of the 9 questions? There's plenty of answers out there. We just don't know what Fenn was thinking for sure.
Yeah. And one last thing I want to hit on that was brought up, and I'm going to plug Fenn Treasure Hunters channel this week, and has been kind of a talk on the forums the last 24 hours, is in Fenn Treasure Hunters Tuesday night live show. Bill Gorman, there's our elephant in the room. Bill, still love you, brother. Brought up the fact that he had emailed Forrest Fenn one time and asked him, about copywriting, and I know I'm going to mess this up, but he talked about copywriting on the autobiography in the poem. And K-Pro from Hint of Riches did email Forrest and asked him that question. And Forrest came back and said, there is an implied copyright on my autobiography, and that implied copyright is then again passed on to my heirs. And there was some talk on the Hint of Riches Thor's blog from Love Lady and Love Lady, and a few others that were more educated than myself in copyright laws about that. And I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. Why is there some kind of copyright? Why does Fenn feel that there is an implied copyright on that? What's so special about that autobiography that he doesn't feel the finder really owns that?
How do you stop it from being out? I mean, once that chest is found, if it's not turned to mush, if it's not leached full of water, that wax seal, then maybe the ink has disappeared. Maybe it's been exposed to some sort of contaminant. Maybe we'll never read it, but most likely it'll be fully published to the world by the finder. I mean, it's going to be something juicy in there. So there's some reason. Why would he even hint that he doesn't want it, that he owns it still? It's going to be out. It's like, I'm just wondering what's in. Why would he care whether it's out? He should just say, yeah, publish it. Who cares?
Well, there's money to be had in that, and the piece that he pulled out of the autobiography, whatever that thing that made that spot special, may or may not be known to the family, and maybe they get to publish it in their entirety.
I mean, he says it's out of his hands now. He might be hinting at that biography or that confession or whatever's in there. It's out of his hands. I mean, Sean and I were talking about he may have to. There may be something so juicy in there that he'll have to commit suicide as promised. This is not a new idea. He's going to throw himself on top of that chest and let his bones rot in the sun. I mean, that's intent. He's definitely talked about suicide on top of the chest. And why? I mean, that would be a going out with a bang, spectacular end to the chase.
Yeah, and I've talked about, Forrest Fenn has said in Scrapbook 164 that he thanks Mr. Poe for the favor. And what favor is that? And I've talked a lot about the gold bug, but there's one other, short story by Poe called The Purloined Letter. And I see, again, this is just confirmation bias and has no relevancy on your ability to find the treasure or anything. But I see some interesting correlations that is the autobiography somewhat like the Purloined Letter in Poe's writing. And if you have not read Poe's Purloined Letter, I highly suggest you go back and read it. Again, it's not going to help you find the treasure. It's interesting. It's a great story, and you might see some correlation. But there was something that was mentioned in the writing of Poe about the Purloined Letter, and I know I'm going to foul this up, and somebody's going to fry me for it. But there's a statement in there that it says that the ascendancy he imposed was dependent upon the robber's knowledge of the loser's knowledge of the robber. And what that means is basically that the only way that person would know that the information contained within the Purloined Letter was released, that information about the king's infidelity, was that the robber of that knowledge or of that letter then released that information. Then the writer of the letter would then know that the robber had gotten that information and released it. So is the autobiography somewhat like the Purloined Letter, that there is, like DeCall is saying, is there something so juicy in that autobiography? And again, I'm not talking about DB Cooper or Omega Man, and it could be that kind of stuff, but is there something? Yeah, or that. I mean, who knows? I mean, anything's on the table, guys. I'm not releasing anything off the table. But is there something so juicy in that autobiography that if that information was released, then Forrest Fenn would know without a doubt that the treasure has been found. And then he would go, yep, okay, I have knowledge that, because two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. That information is only known by who? Forrest Fenn.
Yeah.
That autobiography has not, at least we assume, has not been read by Shiloh, Peggy, Kelly or Zoe or anybody else in his family. It has been written by Forrest Fenn and put into that autobiography in the glass jar, sealed, very special to keep that thing sealed so no water gets into it. So is that information that juicy and that specific and only known by Forrest that if it is released by the finder, that Forrest Fenn would be like, yep, it's been found. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just, Forrest, I'm not saying, I know you're watching this. I'm not saying we want you to go out there and do that. We're really
just paralleling,
just conjecture.
Reflecting back what Fenn has already given us. Fenn has given us suicide of his dad. He's given us his self-confession that it would be his greatest pleasure to kill himself at the site of the treasure. Okay, we're reflecting that back. This is not our brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
But we are asking for answers. What is all this guilt? What is this confession? What is this stuff about God always forgives? What is this about, I think there's sacrilege. I think there's paganism.
You guys talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back.
There he goes again. Well, Miss, I really wonder what goes on in that restroom. He's been there a lot,
Probably yellow in and yellow out.
Yeah, all right. By now, maybe not. But at Jason's site yesterday, they were talking about, what to do with the chest and how Fenn would know about the chest. And I brought up the point that when you look at Fenn's house, it's a museum. And I believe that Forrest Fenn's house will become a museum. I don't know if anybody knows who Sergeant York is, one of my mom and dad's favorite movies. God rest their soul, they're both gone. I visited Sergeant York's house in Pall Mall, Tennessee, and his house is a museum. Nothing like Fenn's house, but a really neat place, okay? But what's missing from Fenn's house? What's missing from that story is the treasure chest. Yeah. And so whatever's in that chest needs to be brought home to that house, to that museum, to complete the story. It was the end. It was the last great adventure of Forrest Fenn.
I agree with you. I've been saying this the whole time. If he's going to die with less than $50 in his pocket, he hasn't sold one single thing. Okay, he's got this entire very, very rich collection. Okay, so of all these things, if he's going to die with $50 in his pocket, he's not doing it one item at a time. So it must all be planned out for one. I believe it's going to be one collection, including the treasure chest. That's the grand finale, the granddaddy of all. Probably have the peace pipe and every other thing and all the mysterious items in his vault, And he's got it all planned. It's maybe the Cody Museum, maybe Smithsonian, maybe I don't know why he would do it in his house like the other guy, but sure is possible.
No, you make the house the museum. There sets the chest, in a little plexiglass case, and folks walk by. And that's the last bit of the Fenn legacy. And then you walk out after, paying your $10 or donation or whatever.
Yeah, of course, Fenn is a charitable guy, very gracious, but that collection can't be split up. I mean, that represents his legacy, and that represents the story. If the treasure's broken up into pieces, that would be a huge disappointment for Fenn. The treasure is part of the equation.
No, Rob, wasn't a quickie.
That's what I just looked at. I was like, quickie. It's like, oh, no glory holes in that bathroom.
I have a bladder of a 7-year-old. Okay, I gotta go pee every hour.
I'd have pissed under the table and left a bigger tip.
Yep. So guys, we're still trending good. We still got over 60 people still in the chat room talking and going at it. But again,
those poor bastards.
It is a Wednesday night, and some of you I know are on the East Coast or in Australia and some other places. So we want to make sure we respect
Australia. Go get your blooming onion and get back here.
But I have to say, we greatly appreciate all you guys that come out and hang out with us and listen to us bullshit about, this crazy hunt that we're all in, this crazy game that we're all involved in. It's a lot of fun, and I'm greatly enjoying it. We all have our own thrill of the chase, and we all look at this treasure hunt in different ways, and it's great that we can all come together and agree to disagree.
Thanks, Rob.
That's a lot of fun. And none of us have any confirmation that we're right. That's the key thing, is that anything is possible, guys. And to talk in absolutes or to say that one person is right and one person is wrong is not the way that we should all be playing it. And hopefully we can all get along and have a good time. I know DeCall and I are diabolically opposed when it comes to imagination and logic.
Funny though, it's humorous.
Yeah.
We don't mind. I mean, that's friggin' awesome that we're different.
And don't get your panties in a bunch, and Bill, I love you, Bill. I enjoy listening and watching your videos. Please don't take things personally. I was trying to joke with you the other day. Obviously it didn't come off right with you, but again, try and find your sense of humor, brother, and just have fun with this. So Bill, cheers to you, brother.
Get you some of that. It ain't Diet Coke that Sean's drinking.
No, it's not Diet Coke, folks.
I guarantee you that. That'd rot his shit right away.
So you guys got anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Mary Green says, does anyone know why Fenn picked Santa Fe? There's a lot of questions in the chat.
There's a lot of hot girls in Santa Fe.
Well, I mean, he explains it, but you still don't have a very clear idea of why he actually picked Santa Fe.
Well, again, doesn't he say in a couple of interviews that he was never a lover of art? It was a means to an ends for him.
Yeah, it was.
He went there to provide for his family. Again, in the Father on the Banco chapter, he talks about his father working.
I think he was a bit of a hustler, and he may have been interested in the Arizona.
We're referencing the '70s Hustler magazine with what was
there? You go.
What was the guy's name?
Larry Flint.
Larry Flynn, yeah. Larry Fenn? What did you say, Larry Fenn?
I don't know. It's Paraffin, Larry Flynn. I don't know.
He's a hustler.
How the heck do we get I mean, the legitimate form of hustler, out there finding Indian artifacts. I mean,
okay, if we have a scrapbook 189 and it even references hustler, it is
Forrest. Not going to. Are you kidding?
Throw us another bone, Forrest.
That's right. That's your keyword.
That's your keyword, Forrest Hustler.
Man, I'll text you later. Don't worry. I mean, this show's going on a little too long, but hustler is the word, man. All right, for the next scrapbook, you can wait like 2 weeks and give us a scrapbook. I know I predicted the last scrapbook, Finn. It's fine.
Hey, Minotaur, my reason why he said summer gut feeling, again, I think I've said this before, is safety. If he would have said, my gut feeling it's going to be found soon in February, we would have had people trouncing around in 4 or 5 feet of snow up in Wyoming and Montana. And I think it was more of a safety issue. Could it be the fact that it's located in the Northern Territory? Sure, possibly. Anything's possible, brother. But I really think it was more of I don't want any more Randy Billius out there, searching in the wintertime in certain areas. He's learned his lesson, I mean, the guy's 88 years old almost, and I can't say he's still learning lessons, and I think that was a tragic misstep on his part to say, if you know exactly where the treasure chest is, you can find it in any weather. And that might have been a tragic faux pas on his part. I can't say that for sure, and I'm not pointing the finger at Fenn, but I think that him saying, his gut feeling is that we found this summer is just a lesson learned on his part, and saying that is just like, okay, I don't want people back out there searching like Randy. Let's just wait till summer, guys.
There seems to be a different vibe coming from Fenn lately, though. He looks a little slower. He's acting.
Looks a little slower.
And he seems to be acting as if And he's acting as if there's enough information out there. There's no reason to keep going on. Why? I mean, the Once Upon a While release kind of proved that he's not interested in talking about it so much.
Yep.
Additional questions.
Let me bring up something really, really quick. Shane McLaughlin brings up the unemployed Texan with the 10 kids, 12 kids going looking for the chest. And that kind of goes back to, talking about, Fenn's drive, Forrest drive with Skippy in the Model B coming from, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas. I never thought about it before, but you know what? That guy might need to follow that same route so that he can fish and hunt and feed his kids on the way to the chest. I mean, I think that's, Shane McLaughlin, thank you for posting that, because that's a damn good thought.
Yeah. I mean, and we've talked about this, if like you said, David, if, he's letting his two sons, Skippy and Fenn, drive all the way 1,600 miles from
his two sons, Skippy and Fenn.
Skippy Fenn.
His name was Fenn.
Forrest, yeah.
Skippy and Fenn. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me have another beer. But if he let his two sons leave from Yellowstone all the way to Temple, Texas, at that young age in the 1940s and driving that whole way, he had to have a lot of confidence in his kids to be able to provide for themselves along that whole trip. Again, we're talking about the time in war. And like you said, David and DeCall, we've talked about this too, that they would have had to change a tire every 50 miles. How many tires did they had to have? And you got to think about the route that they have taken. If I was to drive from Temple, Texas right now, from Temple, Texas to Wyoming, I've got air conditioning. I've got XM radio. I've got, I can get 21 miles to the gallon in my F-150 pickup. I'm going to hit I-25, go all the way up to Cheyenne, make a left and, go that way. But those guys couldn't do that then. They had to follow certain paths that would provide them the opportunities to fend for themselves.
In a populated area.
I mean, so
maybe they begged for money on the way. Who knows?
or they bartered, like he talks about in Flywater, trading fish for potatoes and everything else that they needed. So you got to look at those routes that they could have taken. And I think, David, you said this earlier, and I'll let you say it because it was your idea. So what did they have to do along the way?
Prostitute themselves. Back then it was a nickel.
I'm sorry, Forrest. I can't control this guy. He's on his own.
That's right. What the hell did I say? I don't know. But on that drive, they had to fend for themselves. They were going 20 miles an hour. Every 50 miles, they were getting a flat tire. They had gone into local dumps and gotten as many tires as they could. It says the car, the back seat was filled with tires. But they had to sustain themselves, and their father knew that they could. They could hunt, they could fish, they could trade, they could barter. Believe me, in one part of the book, and thank God my book came literally last Thursday. They caught enough fish that they traded for potatoes, and beans and things like that. Well, you could do that anywhere. If you brought, if you brought 20 or 30 fish to town, people are going to trade you, man. That's protein. That's meat. They've got to feed their family. So they give you some freaking potatoes and beans for them, but guess what? Forrest, not Fenn, Forrest Fenn and Skippy, they knew how to take care of themselves.
I mean, they're pretty charming guys. They probably got,
I'm sure.
Show up at somebody's house and they just invite them on in and, hey, eat dinner with us,
They walked in delivering milk and the woman was naked, right?
Fantastic. Bonus.
We know that story. We heard that story, Forrest. Come on.
Hey, Fenn still does it, He goes up to people. He don't care, Just
All right. Well, it's almost 9:30, guys. I know it's late on.
No, it's almost 11:25
for you. Yes. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. I want to say one last thing. Shiloh, if you are listening, we are giving you an open invite. We're not going to talk to you about.
Yeah, I won't be here if you're here, Shiloh.
We want to talk to you about what it's like to be Forrest Fenn's grandson and what kind of lessons you have learned from him. We don't want to talk about Chase stuff. We respect what you're doing for your grandfather. We've seen some of the stuff you've done in Once Upon a While and this latest book signing that you do a good job of being the blocker for Finn, so to speak, and we respect that. We'd love to have you on the show. Again, we understand if you want to deny, but we'd love to give you an open invite to come on the show and just, have a beer with us and chit chat about the chase and talk about your grandpa. We'd like to get to know a little bit about you and what it's like to be Finn's grandson. So open invite to you. And we just like to tell everybody in the chat room, it's been a great night. We've had a lot of fun with you guys. We appreciate you guys coming out, and we hope that we can give you an opportunity to speak to some of your friends in the chat room and get to know them a little better and share some ideas and just have a good time. Again, we're non-PC, non-moderated, anything goes, guys, as you can tell. And it's been a fun night, and I will give the last words to my friends DeCall and David.
Man, didn't you learn after last week not to give us the last damn word?
Nope.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, just, want to thank everybody for being here. It's really great to talk to you guys. I didn't really expect to be back this week talking to you guys, but last week I didn't really get a chance to talk about the actual search. We're talking about what it was like to be search partners. I'm glad we covered that. I hope that some of you may have even gotten a search partner, because of that. That's about it for me. On to you, DeCall.
I'm easy to find. Look me up on or my website. My spectacular solve that nobody agrees with is fentreasure.com. Facebook /DeCall. My YouTube channel is DeCall Thomas. Give me a call. Email me, whatever. I'm open.
Apparently that Diet Coke will fuck you up.
You show up at my house, I'll probably show you my gun collection right away. But other than that, they're cool.
And your 7 son-in-laws?
Oh, yeah, I got some tall boys. Holy crap.
You got a basketball team, you do. Well, guys, it's been a great night. We've had a lot of fun. Just a quick reminder, we will not be doing a live show next Wednesday. It is 4th of July. We expect you all to eat hot dogs, apple pie, and burn your fingers off. Have a great time. And, man, we just had a good time tonight. It's been
Remember
fun.
the accordion player.
Yeah, Joel, don't forget Joel. And, again, this weekend I will be doing a weekend update to keep you guys all updated on the happenings in the chase. Been a lot of fun, guys, and we hope to catch you all on the flip side.
Woo! Catch you on
guys.
the flip side.
Bye.
Happy 4th of July, y'all.